In this episode, we're going to have a conversation about how to start speaking to people differently online so that way you can start to bypass their mental filters, which we all have a lot of filters. We're filtering out and in information every second of every day. So you can start to bypass some of these filters in order to hit home straight to their heart where they start taking you and your message more seriously. So if you want to know how to connect deeper with your voice, with your message, with your heart, stay tuned. I'm Adam Kadu, and it's time to master the art of real heart alignment, where you live, work, and play from your personal power as energy aligns, your gifts flow, and life simply works. These life-changing conversations are designed to help you to see what you're not seeing, hear what you're not hearing, and to be who you're not being, as the world needs more heart-centered leaders now more than ever. Are you ready to say no to living a half-hearted life and say yes instead to boldly living from a place of real heart alignment? Welcome to the Adam Kadu podcast. Yo. Welcome back to the Adam Kadu podcast. Now, today, we're going to take a little bit a different approach than what we've been doing here on the podcast in the past. I've wanted to start giving more tangible, more concrete, business advice, messaging advice, leadership advice, if you will, on this podcast. Up until this point, there's just been a lot of stuff I needed to clear out. Things that have been on my heart, things that have been going on in my world that I felt would be of value to you. And now it's time to get down to business a little bit more. In this episode, we're going to have a quick conversation about how to start speaking to people differently in this online space that allows you to stand out, that allows you to make an impact, and that allows you to influence people much greater than anyone else around you. And so when I first started out as an entrepreneur, there was a lot of things that were getting in my way. Past programming, fears of the future, doubts, hesitations, fears. I talk about fear a lot. And in working from this place of fear, in basically projecting that people weren't going to receive my message well, they weren't going to get it, they weren't going to understand, I wasn't able to present it in a way that really lands with people, I had to do a lot of digging, a lot of searching within myself to figure out what was really holding me back. So that's always going to be the first place to look. If you're not connecting with your audience, if you're not growing your business to the levels that you know you can, it's the first place to look. What is it that's resisting inside of me? And I've done a tremendous amount of work in this arena. I've worked with Tracy Goodwin over the years, who is a, psychology of the voice specialist. She's not just hey, how do you play with your voice and get your voice to do fun stuff? She's going to help you remove the things that are causing your voice to do certain things. Some people, they go monotone. Some people are really stuck in their high pitch. Some people are really kind of down low and needing to feel forceful and things of that nature. Tracy helped me to see early on that I was playing this game where I needed to look like the expert. I needed to have it all figured out. I had this mask on that was causing a disconnect with people because I thought people needed to say, hey, look, Adam's got it all figured out. I need to work with Adam. Not this arena that we're really playing in and I'm really stepping into right now is let me be me. And the people that are resonating with my message, if you will, the way I present my information, they're meant to work with me. And everybody else that doesn't really connect with it, they're not going to connect. And that's fine. And that's good. I no longer feel the need to convince anybody of anything because I've done a tremendous amount of work based on, just based off trials and tribulations of making sure I'm staying in my personal power. I'm staying in my center. I'm staying in my strengths. And anytime I get outside of that, I've trained myself to feel if I'm seeking approval or if I'm needing to be liked, or if I'm needing to look like the expert in hopes that somebody will buy from me. I've trained myself with a very keen eye to see when I start flipping that back on. Because it's a part of me. Like I've grown up early on in the podcast, I shared this. My big thing was needing to be liked. And for me, it wasn't just like an ego thing. Like I need to be liked so my ego feels good. It was a safety thing. It was a survival thing. I've mentioned on the podcast before, I was around, in my lifetime, I've probably been around 30 to 50 fights. And I've only been in one and two of myself. So I was always the person trying to break things up. But it was just crazy. Like my whole life has been, I've been seeing fights, even when I was a young kid in, first, second, third grade. Like I would see fights on the playground. If I was hanging out on the playground, at night or after hours or whatever, after school, there was fights that would break out all the time. And nobody really messed with me because I trained myself early on. Apparently, I'm kind of seeing this from a different perspective now, but I trained myself to be liked. So then I get to play this game in this entrepreneur space. And for the longest time, I needed to be liked. I needed to feel like I needed to show up in a certain way in order for people to receive me. But back then, my business wasn't growing. So it was through necessity that I had to find myself, my own message, my own lane, and stick to that. But in this conversation today, I want to help you to understand the way people are thinking in this world right now. As you know, the world is busier than ever. We've got more distractions than ever. We've got more drama and trauma in the news than ever. We've got so much going on, so much confusion, so much chaos, so much distraction, and a lot of deliberate distraction. And that's part of the whole mechanism that we're living into is people are vying for our attention. And other marketers in your same industry are vying for other people's attention. So there's this rare commodity right now, not time, not money, but attention. And when you can start to catch and hold people's attention through the way you speak to them and the words you use, all of a sudden, your equity and your attention, your stock and your attention grows. And the more attention you get, the more opportunities you will have to do business with these people that you have their attention. Now, it's one thing to have a one-off video that goes viral. I mean, everybody's searching for that on TikTok and Instagram. There's another thing to, catch attention just, on a whim every once in a while. But if you can continually focus on connecting with people, speaking to people in a certain way that allows you to have the greatest chance to connect, to build trust, to build rapport, to build that know, like, and trust factor, all of a sudden, things open up. All of a sudden, it's like we all talk about funnels online, right? Funnel hacking and all that stuff. But the true funnel starts with attention. And then there's this connection, this understanding of what you do and how you can help people. And then there's this level of belief. If somebody starts to believe through your interactions with them that this person can help me, now all of a sudden they're that much closer to taking an action and enrolling or having a conversation with you about what it looks like to work together. But without that attention, and I'm not talking about just plastering Facebook ads or, just hitting it home with, content marketing. I'm talking about speaking to people. These actual potential customers, they're actually people. They're not numbers, they're not likes, they're not comments, they're people. And there's so much of this, how-tos and the 3 steps. And literally, I wanted to give you this example. So imagine for a moment, you and I sit down, we're in a coffee shop together. Sitting there, you got your favorite beverage. I've got my favorite beverage. I think I've been hitting up the chai teas with some oat milk lately. I love those things. Try not to spend too much in the coffee shops because it just seems like a bit of a waste. But yeah, I'm having my chai tea. You're having your drink. Sitting there chatting. And all of a sudden I break out and I say, here are the 3 steps to getting everything you want in life. You're going to be like, whoa, blown off, right? There's so much of that going on. And just say, for an example, on the other scope of it, you and I are sitting there, we're just kind of in rapport, in sync, not in a rush, hanging out, kind of just kick back in our chairs, just slouching a little bit, having fun, watching the people around us, just enjoying ourselves. And all of a sudden we just catch each other's eyes and we're just looking at each other deeply. And in that moment, you and I realize we're the same. We are one, we are connected. And in that moment, all of the anxieties and the fears and the worries about the world disappears. You and I, in sitting there together, enjoying our favorite beverage, looking at each other, connecting, all of a sudden there's this bond, this trust that comes from that sacred time we spend together. And so, say for an example, instead of me saying, trying to get your attention by speaking real loud and, getting real fancy and all these edits and all these cuts, I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking not to you or your analytical mind, but I'm speaking to you as me, as soul, brothers and sisters. And there's this bond, there's this connection between us that we get to enjoy together when we tear down the walls, when we drop the hidden agendas, when we stop putting up this facade of needing to be liked and needing to be seen in a perfect way. There was years ago when I would do quote unquote sales calls or breakthrough calls, clarity calls, whatever you want to call them. And I was so wrapped up in looking at myself in my own camera and, worrying about how I looked and hoping that I wasn't sounding nervous and things of that nature that I was not even there for the conversation. There was no presence in me. I was all in my head. And other people can feel that. But when you have presence, say for an example, yet again, back to that coffee shop example, you and I are both present. All of a sudden, there's this centeredness, this strength that we induce in each other. And so my example was designed for a way to say one thing is I want to invite you to slow down a little bit with the need to hit that home run on TikTok and Instagram, with the need to stand out and to be liked and all that stuff. And I want to invite you to start to see yourself and try this on right now. See yourself in your mind's eye as the absolute best version of you. When you're creating content, when you're doing live events, when you're doing webinars, what does that person look like? See him in your mind. See that person in your mind. Maybe their shoulders back, standing a little taller, breathing a little bit more rhythmically, standing with your feet firmly on the ground, soaking up that earth, connected to the earth, connected to the moon, the sun, the stars. You feel connected, you feel whole, you feel grounded. See that person right here and right now. And as you might start to experience right here and right now, this is a great way to speak to your customers as well, your potential clients, your audience, is to get them dreaming a bit. Instead of trying to tickle their mind with information, start talking in 3D visual image language to get them inside their heads, to get them to see, to get them to think, to get them to feel. And I promise you, when you start to do so, what happens is the absolute greatest gift you can give somebody in this planet right now. When you start to talk in this more hypnotic language, if you will, ask them to imagine or consider this or listen or even throwing out the occasional now word. Now, let me tell you about this. You might have just experienced that stops your world a little bit. And that's the greatest gift you can give somebody in this life right now is to stop their world. There is so much going on in people's lives. Anxiety is on the rise. Suicide levels are on the rise. This beating ourselves up is on the rise. Second guessing ourselves, overthinking, worry, doubt, fear, it's all on the rise. And if you can get somebody just to pause for a moment, to stop, to consider something, to dream, to see their selves differently in their mind's eyes, or to see whatever you would like to get them to see in their mind's eyes. Say, for an example, you run a dog walking company, or you train people to better work with their dogs. You can get them to see, it's like, can you imagine, just imagine the mailman being able to come to your house without this big old interaction, this blow up and, all the stress and anxiety that comes with the dog just lighting up because he knows the mailman's outside that door and I'm ready to knock that door down. Barking at the door, probably scratching some stuff up. So I'm talking in visual language. I'm not just going to say, I'm not just going to talk about the features and the benefits of what it looks like to walk your dog or to work with your dog. So a lot of people, yet again, are pushing information. Stop pushing so much information and instead start pushing transformation. And the only way to get somebody to transform, the only way to get somebody to change is to get them to stop, to consider, to think, to imagine life in a way that is in alignment with how you can help them. Allow them to try on the experience first. See it in their mind. Even give examples of your customers, if you will. It's like the way I work with my customers, we sit down on Zoom, eye to eye, fully present with each other, not trying to put on a facade, but fully present, fully there. And I'm going to ask you tough questions, right? And if you're the type of person who likes to be pushed, who likes to invoke change and transformation in themselves, then in sitting still together, quietly, focused, without all the distractions, in that 1 hour per week, there is so much transformation. There's so much heart that's being opened in that time together. And in that time together, we're also going to map out and actually start to create diagrams of your message. So that way you can take your message out of your head and put it out on paper in front of you. Pencil it in, write it in, feel it. So that way in any given moment, you don't have to sit here and think so much, oh, what do I say next? What do I say next? You can see it. You can feel it. You can put your hands on it. You can pick it up, paste it to your wall. Maybe not paste it, but maybe tape it. And so I'm talking in 3D language because the greatest place you can be is inside somebody's mind, inside their imagination. But where most entrepreneurs are playing is they want to get in their ears. They want to get them thinking. They want to get them to, to basically just read something or to hear something. No, you want to touch that person. You want richness in your message. You want depth. You want texture. You want feel. You want emotion. You want them to experience your message. You want them to feel it. And if you're constantly just talking about how things work and why this is good and why this isn't good, you're probably missing the mark. When you can start to use more hypnotic language, like imagine this, consider this for a moment. Have you thought about this? And start to understand your potential customers. Do they think in visuals? Do they think in auditory? And start to mix it up, mix up the dynamic. Start to have fun, add richness, add your personality to it as well. Because if I'm going to sit here and tell a story and the whole time I'm like, I hope this isn't a boring story and I'm anxious and I'm tight, versus telling a story of us in the coffee shop and I'm having fun and I'm okay with however it lands, right? It's already done. It's already done. It's going to land in a certain way. It's already done. I don't need to grip the wheel. I don't need to control. But what I will do is do my best to enter into your mind in a way that's going to allow you to pause for a quick minute. Because the only way people are pausing out there is if they're checking their phone. And as you know, they're checking their phone, they're checking out. They think that's the pause. And even in those moments where they're scrolling, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of chatter. Yet again, when you can add richness to the way you speak to somebody, they're hypnotically planting suggestions, even getting out in the future. Something that I know you're going to experience very soon. You're probably going to be, walking your dog. You're going to be out walking. Maybe you're walking to work, just minding your business, step after step. You look down at your shoelaces. You look down at your shoes. Then all of a sudden you look up and you have this epiphany. The epiphany is, I've come a long way. I've come a long way. And that's because I'm being the type of person who is courageous. I'm being the type of person who is at the cusp of being my full-blown leadership person. I'm stepping into being a heart-centered leader. You're going to have this epiphany in a couple weeks from now. And when you do have that moment, I want you to tell me, look, it's on. I'm feeling this. It's on. So all of a sudden I'm getting in, somebody's mind. They're dreaming a bit. Their world is pausing. They're no longer so worried about whatever else is going on in the world. They're no longer worried about checking social media and checking out. There's this richness. And when you can start to share stories with this richness, when you can start to be more intentional and strategic about planting little seeds in your stories or in your visualizations or in getting people to stop, when you can be intentional in what you plant in their minds during that moment of pause, all of a sudden you're communicating on a whole new level. And this isn't designed to get somebody to do something. This is designed to help that person change their life, no matter how that looks. So I invite you to start considering, just looking into hypnotic language. This is something that I teach. I've geeked out on for years. just part of my learnings from NLP. And it's something that allows me to be a little bit more in my center and in my strength when I'm communicating. Because at one point, like I said, I was trying to force people. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. Because that's what experts do, right? They force you and they push you and they poke you and they prod you. And no, that's not my energy. And chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, it's not your energy as well. And so when you study hypnotic language, when you can start to have these sentence stems, if you will, these language patterns that are designed to get people to stop, to consider, to pause for a moment, to use their imagination in cohesion with your message and what you're helping that person with. And all of a sudden, there's closeness there. I'm not just poking and prodding and feeding you more information. There's an abundance of information. Go watch some YouTube videos. Plenty of information. What people need now more than ever are connection, collaboration, partnerships, alliances. Build yourself up in a way that really suggests that your net worth is the byproduct of your network. And so let's take a closer look at that. So one of the things that is coming down the pike is I'm creating this new training, a 3-part video series training. It's going to be happening very soon. We will post a link to the waitlist inside this podcast with the podcast description. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be breaking down the 3 main components of heart-centered leadership. Because yes, I've become known as the heart-centered selling guy, and sales and leadership, they literally are the same thing. If you don't have the courage to lead, you don't have the courage to sell. If you don't have the courage to sell, you don't have the courage to lead. You might dabble in leadership, you might dabble in selling, but when you can turn both of these on, and yet again, they're one and the same, when you can turn it on, all of a sudden you start to lean in a little bit more. You start to walk a little bit more in your strength. You start to stand at ground zero in your personal power more and more and more. So everything you do starts to come together because you're no longer so worried about the future. The planning you do is more powerful. The execution of that plan is more powerful. How you work with your students and your clients is more powerful because you're in your power. You're leading from your heart. There's a huge difference between leadership and heart-centered leadership. It's a huge difference because you see people out there that are leading and it just doesn't feel good. It's just not aligned. I can rattle off some peeps right now, but I won't do that because I don't feel like that's in my heart. I don't want to bash on anybody else. So here's the deal. Got a wait list. If you're interested in this training, it's going to be 3 parts. I've also, for the very first time ever, super excited to announce that you might have heard last week's podcast, but we have launched a a mastermind. And in this mastermind, my whole intention behind this is to bring, because I've got such a group of people that around me, I'm like, oh man, they could be, they could be doing even more. They could be doing even more. And I know the missing piece for a lot of people is like, we've got the processes, we've got the strategies, we know about this, we know about that. We've got a good offer, right? But now it's time to have these partnerships. Now it's time to form these strategic alliances so we can support each other. So if you're interested in the mastermind at all, got a link for that wait list as well. So good things coming. I have had the privilege, I will say, it's a gift to not do so much this last year. With our 11-month-old, and plus, when I'm recording this today, it's Bentley's, my firstborn's 3-year-old birthday today. So I'm getting ready to shut this down and we're going to have some fun with him. He got to celebrate all weekend and just get some cool gifts, and he had a blast, but today's his day. So we're going to spend some more time with him. So I'm getting ready to shut this down and go play with the fam. But yes, you've heard me say numerous times before, Mr. Jax, it's been troublesome with him. It's been trying with him. There was a lot of stories and a lot of, baggage that I was placing on my quote unquote circumstances with not being able to sleep very well, with having to be so hands-on with helping my wife in her journey of breastfeeding when the little guy had food sensitivities and things of that nature. There's been so much that has transpired with him that it's a blessing that I've been able to be there more fully for my wife and my baby boy Jax. And now I have the opportunity. We have our rockstar nanny. We've been through 6 nannies. This one is staying. She's perfect. She's amazing. We're rocking it with her. I have the opportunity to open back up and to focus on being of more service this year. Because last year was a lot about letting go, a lot about gleaming the gifts that are in my life right here and right now. It was a lot about testing myself and pushing myself to new limits, to see what I'm made of, to see what's really there. I've gotten more organized, more intentional, more focused because, I was not able to work a ton this last year. I wasn't able to be of service as I felt I could be, which was troublesome for me. It was trying at times. But I've come to terms with it, and now I know it's a new year. It's time to open back up. So I've got additional trainings. I've got, a whole list of things that we're rolling out soon. But for right now, if you're interested in the mastermind, to play at a higher level, to surround yourself with the best of the best, and I'm sending out invites to a number of people. So you can best believe I'm vetting to making sure this mastermind of 12 people, we're capping it at 12, is the best and most impactful decision you've ever made in your business. Because with partnership, with alliances, with helping each other, with being able to see what's working well with others and not just from the expert that's, did it 10 years ago and that's working out well for them. You get to be in the trenches with other people. You get to meet other people. You get to hear their stories. You get to root them on. You get to see if there's synergy in partnerships for affiliate promotions or just to endorse each other. So this is going to be huge. So if you're interested in being part of that mastermind, you can find the link in the bio. Or you can go to adamkadu.com/mastermind. And also, when it comes to the wait list for the 3-part video series, Heart-Centered Leadership, you can go to adamkadu.com/heart. And there it is, y'all. There it is. This podcast is in the books. Like I said, I'm going to start giving more tangible, implementable, experiences and things that are working well for me when it comes to messaging and sharing my heart and helping people in the way that I know they need help right here and right now. And that way they need help right here and right now is for them to stop, to listen, to consider, to open up their minds, to open up their hearts, because there's so many distractions, so many people that are even, the most expansive people on this planet right now are becoming so much more closed off because there's so much stimulus. There's so much dopamine in our devices and our distractions. And if you're not staying outside of all that, the chances are you're not being of service in the way you know how you can. And if that's the case, I know the pain that comes along with that. And I know you know that pain as well. So it's time to open up. It's time to be of service. It's time to lead with your heart now more than ever, because as I say, the world needs it. All right. Much love to you. I'm going to go play with the birthday boy. I'm going to go check in with my wifey. So you guys have a great rest of your day. If anything in this podcast struck you, or if you want to know more about hypnotic language, like I said, get on the wait list. And also I'll probably do some more episodes to where I get even more in depth in this, give you some more tangible examples so that way you can implement it right away. I just wanted to open up this conversation here today. So I trust this found you well. That's it. Thank you for being here. Until next time, go all in on your passion, whatever you're feeling right here and right now, something that you've been thinking about and urging to do. Like for me, it's been the mastermind. It's literally been on my mind and on my heart for years. And I just didn't have the courage and was talking myself out of it. Now it's here. It's go time. It's real. So go all in on your passion or whatever is really vying for your heart and your attention right now. Because the world needs more leaders. They need that passion. So go connect. Go speak with people differently. Stop forcing your content down their throats. Until next time, go help somebody today. Go help somebody. Because that's what the world needs. More leaders. All right, y'all. Much love. Talk soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Adam Kadu podcast. If you would, take a moment to subscribe and click the bell icon so that way you get notified when future episodes air. Now, here's the thing. If you are looking for the show notes, you can find a link to those below. If you're looking for the handles of the guests that I've been interviewing, things of that nature, you'll find that here. And if there's anything else that stood out to you in the episode, or if there's anything I can do for you, please leave a comment below, or for sure message me on Instagram if you'd like, as I'm always looking to hear what's working well for you and what caught your interest about the Adam Can Do podcast. So, time to go, time to change the world, time to help more people. Are you ready? Let's go do this thing. The world needs more leaders. So thanks again for listening to the Adam Can Do podcast.